Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Classroom. This is a place where we explore life's biggest questions, the lessons we rarely learn in school, and the ideas that help us grow as individuals. Whether you're a student, a young professional, or simply someone curious about life, I'm glad you're here. Today's episode is called The Things We Realize Too Late. What do people regret the most when they look back on their youth? Is it the mistakes they made? The opportunities they missed? The risks they took? At first, many people assume that regret comes from failure. But when we listen to the stories of older adults, a different pattern often appears. Many don't regret the things they did. They regret the things they never did, the conversation they never started, the opportunity they never pursued, the dream they never gave a chance, the words they never said. Today, I'd like to explore some of the lessons people often discover much later in life. Not because we can avoid every regret, but because understanding them may help us make better decisions today. Let's begin. Imagine meeting yourself 20 years from now. Your future self sits across from you and reflects on the years that are about to come. What would they say? Would they talk about a bad grade on an exam? A small mistake at school? An embarrassing moment that feels huge today? Probably not. Most likely they would focus on something much larger. How you spent your time, what kind of person you became, and whether you had the courage to live according to your own values. One of the most common regrets people express is waiting too long. Waiting to start, waiting to learn, waiting to apply, waiting to create, waiting for the perfect moment. Many of us believe that someday life will become easier. We'll have more confidence, more time, more certainty, then we'll finally begin. But life rarely works that way. The perfect moment is often an illusion. There is always another challenge waiting around the corner, another responsibility, another reason to delay. And before we realize it, months become years. The truth is that many meaningful things begin before we feel ready. The first workout, the first business, the first speech, the first application, the first step toward a dream. Confidence is often not the starting point. It is the result of taking action repeatedly. Another lesson many people learn too late is how much energy they spent worrying about other people's opinions. When we're young, being judged can feel terrifying. We want to fit in. We want approval. We want to avoid embarrassment. And because of that, we sometimes hide parts of ourselves. We stay silent when we want to speak. We avoid opportunities because we're afraid of looking foolish. We choose safety over growth. What's interesting is that many older adults eventually realize something simple. Most people are thinking about themselves far more than they're thinking about us. That embarrassing moment you still remember? Others may have forgotten it years ago. That mistake you replay in your mind? Most people probably never think about it. Yet fear of judgment can quietly shape our lives. And sometimes the opportunities we miss are not caused by lack of ability. They're caused by fear. Fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of looking inexperienced. Years later, the question often isn't, what if I failed? It's, what if I had tried? Another regret involves time itself, not because people don't have enough of it, but because they don't realize how valuable it is until much later. A single day doesn't seem important. Neither does a single week. But life is built from ordinary days. The habits we repeat, the choices we make, the conversations we have, the books we read, the skills we practice. Small actions rarely feel significant in the moment, but over years they become the story of our lives. Many people look back and realize they spent enormous amounts of time on things that added little value to their lives. Endless distractions, unnecessary arguments, comparing themselves to others, worrying about things beyond their control. Again, this doesn't mean we should never relax or enjoy entertainment. Rest is important. Fun is important. But awareness is important too. Because attention is one of the most limited resources we have. Where attention goes, life follows. Another lesson people often discover later concerns relationships. Many wish they had spent more time with the people they loved. More time with parents. More time with grandparents. More time with close friends. When we're young, we often assume there will always be another opportunity, another visit, another conversation, another chance. But time moves quietly. People grow older. circumstances change, life becomes busier, and eventually we understand that some moments are more valuable than we realize. Perhaps this is why one of the greatest gifts we can give another person is our presence. Not our money, not our status, simply our attention. Being fully present with someone is becoming increasingly rare in a world filled with distractions. And finally, there is one regret that may be larger than all the others. Many people reach a point in life where they realize they spent years trying to become the person others expected them to be, the person society admired, the person friends approved of, the person family wanted. Again, there is nothing wrong with receiving guidance from others. The problem arises when we never ask ourselves an important question. What do I truly want? Not what looks impressive, not what gains approval, not what everyone else is pursuing. What genuinely matters to me? A meaningful life is not necessarily the most successful life. It is not necessarily the richest life, and it is certainly not the most perfect life. A meaningful life is one that feels authentic, one that reflects your values, your choices, your direction. As we come to the end of today's episode, remember that regret itself is not the enemy. In fact, regret can be a useful teacher. It reminds us of what matters. It helps us see what deserves our attention. And sometimes it encourages us to make a change while we still can. So here's a question I'd like to leave you with. If you could meet your future self 10 or 20 years from now, what advice do you think they would give you today? And more importantly, will you listen? Perhaps the greatest regret is not making mistakes. Perhaps the greatest regret is allowing fear to make our decisions for us. Because years later, people rarely ask, what if I had failed? More often they ask, what if I had tried? Thank you for spending these few minutes with me. If this episode gave you something to think about, feel free to follow the podcast and share it with someone who might enjoy it as well. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep learning, and keep thinking. This is Beyond the Classroom.